The external potency or the material energy has nothing to do with his eternal form. All these truths were known to Sri Bhismadeva, who worshipped him accordingly. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So unless one believes in the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, such a person who doesn't believe it remains an atheist. And the atheists, including the Mayavadis, make up false theses about Krishna. They say that the Brahman effulgence is the ultimate destination or the ultimate truth. And Brahman sometimes comes into the material world as the jiva, including so-called incarnations such as Krishna. So this is all blasphemous information, false information, and therefore people are misled to think that they are equal to Krishna, and they can become God by denying their individuality and merging into the Brahman, into the ultimate oneness of everything. So all these things have been declared null and void by Krishna long 5,000 years ago. In fact, if we read carefully Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, 3rd verse, it explains very clearly. Krishna says, or Srila Prabhupada explains this verse. It says, the constitutional, he says, Brahman is indestructible and eternally existing, and its constitution is not changed at any time. But beyond Brahman, there is Para-Brahman. Brahman refers to the living entity, and Para-Brahman refers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The constitutional position of the living entity is different from the position he takes in the material world. In material consciousness, his nature is to try to be the Lord of matter. But in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness, his position is to serve the Supreme. When the living entity is in material consciousness, he has to take on various bodies in the material world. That is called karma, and varied creation by the force of material consciousness. In Vedic literature, the living entity is called Jivatma and Brahman, but he is never called Para-Brahman. The living entity Jivatma takes different positions. Sometimes he merges into the dark material nature and identifies himself with matter, and sometimes he identifies himself with the superior spiritual nature. Therefore, he is called the Supreme Lord's marginal energy. According to his identification with material or spiritual nature, he receives a material or spiritual body. In material nature, he may take a body from any of the 8,400,000 species of life. But in spiritual nature, he has only one body. In material nature, he is manifested sometimes as a man, demigod, animal, beast, bird, etc., according to his karma. To attain material heavenly planets and enjoy their facilities, he sometimes performs sacrifices, yajna, but when his merit is exhausted, he returns to earth again in the form of a man. This process is called karma. The Chandogya Upanishad describes the Vedic sacrificial process. On the sacrificial altar, 5 kinds of offerings are made into 5 kinds of fire. The 5 kinds of fire are conceived of as the heavenly planets, clouds, the earth, man, and woman. And the 5 kinds of sacrificial offerings are faith, the enjoyer on the moon, rain, grains, and semen. In the process of sacrifice, the living entity makes specific sacrifices to attain specific heavenly planets and consequently reaches them. When the merit of sacrifice is exhausted, the living entity descends to the earth in the form of rain, then takes on the form of grains, and the grains are eaten by man and transformed into semen, which impregnates a woman, and thus the living entity once again attains the human form to perform sacrifice and so repeat the same cycle. In this way, the living entity perpetually comes and goes on the material path. The Krishna consciousness person, however, avoids such sacrifices. He takes directly to Krishna consciousness and thereby prepares himself to return to Godhead. Impersonalist commentators on the Bhagavad Gita unreasonably assume that Brahman takes the form of Jiva in the material world, and to substantiate this, they refer to chapter 15, verse 7 of the Bhagavad Gita. Mamayavam sa jiva loka, jiva bhuta sanatana. But in this verse, the Lord also speaks of living entity as eternal fragment of myself, sanatana. The fragment of God, the living entity, may fall down into the material world, but the Supreme Lord, Achyuta, never falls down. Therefore, this assumption that the Supreme Brahman assumes the form of Jiva is not acceptable. It is important to remember that in Vedic literature, Brahman, the living entity, is distinguished from Parabrahman, the Supreme Lord. So only the living entity falls down from the spiritual world. Krishna never falls down. And when he falls down, he or she gets many different incarnations, or let's say bodies, 8,400,000. But the Mayavadis claim that Brahman is the ultimate, let's say, truth, and the Brahman can manifest in the material world as a conditioned soul. So they mix up Brahman and Parabrahman. The Jiva is referred to as Brahman. Krishna is referred to as Parabrahman. So Brahman, or the living entity, called Jivatma when they fall down in the material world, is conditioned by the material, let's say, modes of nature and time and so forth. But when Krishna appears, he's not a fallen soul. He's like the king who visits his the jail in his country. He's not a prisoner when he goes into the jail to visit it. But the prisoners are prisoners. They can't. The king can go in and come out. The prisoners stay in the prison. So this is the base, mean, nasty lies of the Mayavadis. That's why they're the worst aparadis, or persons who insult the Lord on a regular basis in the name of their false philosophy. So it says the living entity may fall down into material nature or material world, but Krishna never falls down. Okay, so then in the Ishopanishad, Hiranmayana Patrina Satyasya Piyatambakam Satyadharmaya Dristaya. So it says that the supreme, the Lord, who's the sustainer of all that lives, his real face is covered by his dazzling effulgence. And the Ishopanishad, Tattvam Pusama Pavrinu Satyadharmaya Dristaya, prays, my dear Lord, kindly remove this dazzling effulgence, this covering, so that I can see your face. I can see you. And then it says, Pusaneka Seyama Surya Prajapatya Vyuharasmin Samahateja Yatte Rupam Kayatamam Tate Pasyami Yo Savasu Purusha Somasmi. Mantra 16 says, O my Lord, O primeval philosopher, maintainer of the universe, O regulating principle, destination of the pure devotees, well-wisher of the progenitors of mankind, please remove the effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. You are the eternal supreme personality of Godhead, like unto the sun as am I. So, in Mantra 15, the Ishopanishad, who's a devotee, all the Upanishads are devotees, they're persons. It's not just a book, it's a person. And they're always in the company of Lord Narayana in the spiritual world, and they're glorifying him with these transcendental prayers. So it says, your real face is covered by your dazzling effulgence. And then in mantra 16, it says, please remove this effulgence of your transcendental rays so that I can see your form of bliss. Now, Bhagavad Gita also says, Naham prakasa sarvasya yogamaya samanvitaha mudoyam nabijananti lokam mudoyam nabijananti. So that verse says, 7:26, is it? 25. It says, Mudoham nabijananti lokamam ajam avyayam. I am never manifested as foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So, the Mayavadis, because they don't understand that Krishna has unlimited and incredible powers, they can only attain Brahman refulgence, and it's not sure they can even do that. But some of them may do that. And they think that that is the ultimate truth. But the ultimate truth, Vedanti tat tatvidas tatvam yajganam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate, is understood in 3 stages: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So, therefore, Bhismadev understood this. And in ancient times, this understanding was normal. But there were also Mayavadis in ancient times, and they misrepresented the truth, and it's come up till today. So here it says, the Lord is present in everyone's heart, but yet he's present everywhere. That's another thing that is misunderstood by the Mayavadis and by normal people. Krishna says, Mayatatamidam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtima matstani sarvabhutanin nachaham tesu avastita, 9th chapter, 4th verse, that he pervades everything. He says, by me, in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So he's talking about his Paramatma expansion. And here also it mentions that. He says, the Lord Shri Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, yet he manifests his transcendental form by his internal potency. This very Lord was sitting before Bhismadeva, and since Bhismadeva knew of his glories, he worshipped him. The Lord's omnipotency is displayed by his simultaneous presence in every place. He's present personally as Paramatma. And everything in the spiritual world and the material world is situated on his internal potency called the Brahman effulgence. So he's present everywhere also by the expansion of Brahman effulgence in the spiritual world and the material world. And in the material world, he's present everywhere as Paramatma. Paramatma doesn't exist in the spiritual world. So, Bhisma is aware of all these things. And he says that, and still he is present in everyone's heart and even within every invisible atom. When he manifests his eternal transcendental form in the material world, he does so by internal potency. So the Mayavadis, they claim that Krishna is also a jiva like us. And and in the material concept of life called tamasa buddhi, the Mayavadis claim that you cannot attain Brahman unless you reject Krishna, who they claim is the sum total of tamasa buddhi. This is how nasty, misdirected, misinformed, and very, very, let's see, offensive the Mayavadis are. Even the atheists are not as offensive as the Mayavadis. Okay, so we'll stop right there and continue tomorrow. Haribol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We didn't? All right, we'll do it tomorrow.